I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you have quorum?
No.
No.
I'm
Yeah, do it.
not sure,
Well, we could do it for informational purposes only until they get here. I've done
well,
that
I
with
don't think we're
meetings.
going to
that's
have
a good
anything
idea.
to vote on tonight.
Oh, that's good. That makes it
Um,
easier.
And just as a heads up, I'm not doing particularly well today
I could tell
with my,
the way you're feeling, yeah.
I'm having, like, for a while I've been having trouble breathing,
Oh,
and I'm in cardiac rehab right now. But, so the end result, I just got a new medication I started tonight,
mhm.
and if we finish early, I will not be upset.
Okay.
Maybe you should have canceled the meeting.
Yeah, are you okay to get home? Did you need help getting home, or?
No, I'm,
You're good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, just,
Let's get this meeting started.
Yeah, so that
Yes,
you can go
that's right.
home.
Yeah.
Let's
go,
Go
Jim.
home and rest.
and if that's okay, I think we've taken care of their representatives.
Not here, not here, not here. Next.
I can do a quick update on the library, but if anybody has any questions, or I can skip it. It's totally up to you guys.
No, go.
Okay, so we're just, as we've talked about a little bit about the budget, Donna, my assistant director, and I will be at the deliberative session on Saturday to answer any questions that may come up about the library budget. So it is what it is right now. We also have the vote March 11th for there are 3 trustee positions that are open. I believe 8 people have signed up to run, which is great for the involvement. So we'll find out if we have any new trustees. 2 of them are rerunning, who are in 2 of those spots.
Yeah.
And then there is one official vacant position. So we will have at least, if anything, 1 new trustee. If the other 2 don't end up getting in, we'll have 3 new trustees.
That's
possibly.
amazing.
So-
You have 8 candidates?
Yeah. Yeah.
People are interested. That's
People are
good.
interested, that's
Kind of
great.
scary to the incumbents, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
exciting.
So we're having a
Yeah.
meet the candidate night at the library on the 19th, I believe it is at 6:30. So you can come and listen to the candidates. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions and they'll introduce themselves. So I've sent an email to all the candidates to invite them, and I've heard back, I think, from at least half of them. So that's kind of good that we'll have that opportunity, and the people will have that opportunity. And we've got our spring programs planned, and we're working on summer reading. It's crazy to believe, but it's true. So yeah, we've just been really busy. The consortium we're in full swing with the consortium, and that has been very popular. Our checkouts and everything and visits to the library have gone up. And we've had a lot of new interest in the library, and a lot of people coming from other towns asking about our library and using our services, so it's great.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's definitely a good choice. So that's kind of it on our end. Any questions?
No, I just really appreciate everything you do, Erin, and
Thank you.
all you've
Yeah.
accomplished since you've been here. It's wonderful.
Thank
it
you.
really is.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, it's I truly enjoy what I do. I have been in library since I was 15 and a half, and
Wow.
I've moved up. I've been in every position possible,
Yeah.
and I really do enjoy what I do, and I'm able to spend some time on the reference desk, and so I get to interact with patrons, which is great because a lot of times a lot of directors are like hiding in the back
Right,
office.
right.
But I always tell them, put me on the schedule because I want to be able to interact, and I want to be able to keep my skills fresh. So. It's great to interact with patrons and get feedback from them, firsthand. So, and good and bad is always good because
Yeah.
we can work. It's a chance for us to look at things and work differently if we need to. So, but yeah, thank
It's
you very
great. All
much.
you've done is wonderful.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Alrighty, transportation issues.
Oh, yes, the transportation issue. Well, one of, excuse me, Sherry and I were at the town council's last 3 meetings, okay? And the first meeting we went to, okay, we had a sample warrant article and so on, and the town council was 150% behind doing this, okay? And the first thing we discussed at that meeting was whether or not it was going to be a citizen's petition or the town council was going to do. So after discussion and so on, because of our charter of making recommendations to the town council and so on.
Hey, Sharon,
We just got started.
We're just
Oh, you
starting on
did?
our.
Yeah.
Oh, where should I start?
Oh,
Hang on a
anyway.
second. Where should I start? Where should I sit?
After we had this discussion about how this article was gonna be done, it was decided that the town would put forward the warrant article. And at that meeting, they also, well, everybody was very happy about this, we were being thanked. It was just, everybody was, we thought was on board.
Didn't we?
Yeah. So then, and in addition to that, to make it, to get it more solid, is they sent basically the administration way to create the warrant article. Okay? So we walked out of there thinking, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, I think that was January 7th, I think that was the date. These dates are important. Now, relative to the budget schedule and so on, about things to be done, you know, for the month, one of the key numbers was, it was either January 14th or 15th, was the last day to put a petition, a citizen's petition warrant article out. So, we are sitting there, fat, dumb, and happy, thinking this is okay. They're gonna go ahead and put it, they basically said they were gonna do it. So then, we go past the 15th, and, we didn't, you know, we didn't think it was gonna be necessary, and we thought that would, you know, basically only cause more confusion. So the next meeting comes along, and in that meeting, they were still all for this, okay? But there was a but, okay? And the but, well, there's two things. But let me talk about the but first. They just, one of the town council members thought that he didn't like they wanted to do it, but he didn't like the method by which we're using, which is the $5 fee, because he described that as one of these rules or laws that never go away. It's in place and it stays forever, which is, you know, usually that's good, like, you know, the amendments to the Constitution and so on. But anyway, so I guess at that point in time, okay, there was a lot of discussion back and forth, and they couldn't come together on anything about how it works. So now I think what they decided to do was, that's when they decided we're gonna have 2 warrant articles, right?
Which we thought we
Yeah.
were really,
Yeah.
like, wow, this is pretty great that they're gonna try
We
to.
had we're gonna do 2 warrant articles, and then they were gonna pick between the warrant article for the $5 or a warrant article for $200,000 to put on the ballot.
Like
The
a
200
one-time sort of,
Yeah, one time.
Okay.
Now, the 200 is an estimate of how much money would be collected from the $5 fee.
Oh, I see.
Now,
Okay.
and behind, a secondary issue that was going on during this is, there's the wording of for the RSA is very simple, the warrant article and so on. And it has in there a list of things that you can use the money for, okay? And what we decided to do was to specifically put in there, because this is a senior resource committee, that we wanted to use the money for older adults and people with disabilities, okay? And that wording matches right up with a federal funding, 5310 federal funding. That's exactly what you use that money for. And in addition to that, we put in there this, another use was pedestrian facilities. And pedestrian facilities basically covers anything that you can think of related to pedestrians. It's either a convenience or a safety issue. So we know we have problems, people getting, you know, the mail and all that, so we had these 2 things. But when we showed up the second time, they had created a warrant article, but they put in the warrant article the whole broad scope of all the stuff that you could use the money for. So,
But then they said it was too vague.
yeah, yeah.
You know, because it was so much, it was kind of like,
Oh,
yeah, it
yeah.
was, you
But-
know. it was-
But then I don't know if that started the problem or not. People, some of the council members are thinking about, all this money. All this money and what we can use it for, okay? So they started, you know, our warrant articles kind of shoved aside with ours, and then they had their own version, which would have been kind of or sort of okay, but I can picture that big just diluted over years, that just diluted where seniors would take a back seat to everything else. So then, let's see, then now they're gonna have 2 warrant articles, right? And this is at the second meeting. Now, and those warrant articles, the 2 of them, which still had this damn wording in that we didn't agree with,
The
came to
first one was the $5 and the second one was the 200,000?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the third, that was gonna come back, and then they were going to, that was, I guess, the 20th, right? Maybe, they were going to pick one of them, okay? And maybe they said, we'll pick one of them or both of them, I don't remember what, but the idea was to pick one of them.
And we assumed we wouldn't need a citizen's petition then,
Yeah.
because.
Yeah.
So anyway, then a discussion pursued. Now, that discussion would be an excellent case study in group dynamics. It really would. And keep in mind, what time was it?
I was
11:30,
just
12
thinking-
Oh, we
o'clock?
weren't there
Was it
so late.
11:30, 12 o'clock
The
at
first
night?
one
They're going
was,
through
and then the
this.
second one
So
was.
eventually,
one.
they got themselves so
Big.
wrapped up and wound up with all of the stuff, they went into high-speed wobble mode and said, let's just table it.
We were very like dumbfounded, like,
Yeah.
that wasn't an option.
So-
It's hard
you
with all
know?
the work that went into it.
'Cause-
Yeah.
and
So-
I just kept saying, why don't we just use what John had created, like, you know, and let the voters decide. And then all of a sudden it was just poof, and, yeah, and I don't know, 12:30, quarter, we were just kinda like looking at each other like,
I
did
remember
that
somebody
just
said-
happen?
Because it was so
Good
late,
morning.
like, we were so
Because-
tired, yeah.
Right, somebody said good morning.
Yes,
Oh,
good
morning.
morning.
Well, we
Cherry
didn't get out of there
Johnson.
till 12:45.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So anyway.
Yes, yeah,
So there we
One
are.
morning.
yeah, it was.
So bottom line is
Lesson learned.
it's tabled at this
Lesson
point?
learned.
Yeah, just like, no, they weren't gonna move the warrant forward.
Do you have the
so-
option of
No, we
presenting
lost
it
that.
again
You
Oh,
could.
next year.
next
Yeah.
year?
Next year.
A whole
So do you think you should do a
See,
citizen
we lost-
petition next year then?
Well, that's what we'll have to
We lost the
decide,
ability.
yeah.
The big thing is,
Yeah.
well,
We
the
lost
big
the
thing really
ability.
is the warrant article, which was a perfectly good warrant article and
Mm.
everything. And we could have put it on as a, you know, citizen petition and it went right on through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because, in my mind, because that very first meeting, okay, they agreed to do it, and they agreed to do the warrant article.
Yeah.
Now, to me, you can mess around with the warrant article maybe, but you can't back out of it, especially not after the deadline for the citizens petition.
Well,
So-
technically, they didn't back out, they
Yes.
tabled it.
Yeah.
They didn't say
but I don't
no,
think- yeah, but I
but
don't-
now they tabled it for an entire year, which is the same as saying no.
But the
Yeah.
core question
Which
is
is sad.
could they do that at all, okay?
Oh.
Yeah.
Could they, because keeping in mind, okay, this wasn't about what you're gonna use the money for, it wasn't about any of those things. The vote was simply to put the warrant article on the ballot. So through this whole thing, they resulted in taking a warrant article that people wanted to put on and didn't let it go to the voters. And that's not a very healthy thing to do.
Yeah, because they could have let the voters decide.
That's exactly
Right.
what,
I mean,
if you.
That's what that's how I feel, because I have a warrant article out there too, and in my mind, you know, if the community doesn't want it, they'll vote to not have it, and then there's your decision, there's.
Erin, that's a very good point.
Yeah,
That's
so,
true.
I mean, that's how I feel, but,
Yeah.
And another thing that really was
Kind of
annoying
surprising
is,
that it went that way for.
yeah.
I think it was, I don't know if the first time we were there, or the second time there, we were having a discussion, and CART came up as a subject, and one of the newer council members said, what's CART? So here's a person that doesn't.
Who said what's CART?
They didn't know what CART.
Who didn't?
One of the newer town council.
Wow.
people. So here they are making a decision
On
about
something they don't know.
transportation and has no idea of even what the town has for transportation.
But you know, John, bringing up CART, I think the minimum that we should take away from this is that we do know, I believe Justin said there's around 16,000 in there from when Joe Green was part of this with us, and we should at least get that money used for CART to help the people that
Okay.
originally we wanted to help with that $2 that they have to, I mean, we could at least accomplish that for all of the work you put into it.
Do you have to do anything special to
I don't really
get that
think so.
money?
No,
or-
I think, you know,
Would it be a
just-
case-by-case situation? Would they have to ask for it?
Some
Yeah.
of that money, well, I was at a meeting, I've had a long day. I was at a RCC, it's the Regional Coordinating Council for Transportation, of which I'm a member, and it covered more or less Rockingham County. And ironically, today, we were, the federal money is given out on a fiscal basis July 1st. So we were making decisions today on how that money was gonna be distributed to about 8 or 10 people that, and, you know, CART, CART was on there, and CART's going to have to, and I was hoping I was going to have the numbers to bring here tonight, but CART is going to have to increase their money that they asked for. But I can't imagine it being a $16,000 increase, so we will probably have enough money
Oh.
between the 27 or whatever
Yeah,
and that
that we paid
16
CART,
to
right.
cover CART.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just another period of time. From my perspective is, this, with the condition of transportation for seniors in this state and so on, it's a given that we ought to be doing something as a town. It's just a given. I mean, everybody, it's a struggle. And I say here trying to figure out what was really the motivation of this. And frankly, I come back to ageism. I put that right at the top of the list. I mean, they just were not really interested in putting any effort into doing something for seniors. They can make all kinds of excuses, but that's what it really came down to, that
I
they
think-
didn't want to take the time and effort to do something.
I think something I've noticed since I've been here, and I don't know if there was a history prior, but like, there's really no resource department for, like, I've worked in other towns where there was an actual veterans department, there was a seniors department, and you would go to those said
Assistance, yeah.
assistance to get,
Yes.
you know, for veterans, they would get assistance
Yeah.
on, you know, either assistance with home or, you know, heat, food, same thing with seniors, and if they were a senior veteran that also had, but there were people, part of the town staff that would assist them in
Yes.
finding those resources and getting them help. And I don't think Londonderry
No.
Were
has
you-
something like
when-
that.
When you say other towns, were you in New Hampshire or?
No, this was
Mass?
when I was in Amesbury, Mass.
Okay,
The
yeah.
town,
Oh.
the town actually had employees that would assist. They had a
Financial
veterans
supports.
department, and they would assist veterans that lived in town, and sometimes even outside of town, depending on what their needs were, to helping them find resources and get the aid and help, whatever that looked like that they needed. And then the senior center had a director, which I know we already do, but she also was part of that, where she would find help for heat, or people who couldn't afford their heat, or people who couldn't afford food, or transportation in this case. And she would, there was like a point person to go to help find those resources.
Almost like a Department of Health and
Right,
Welfare.
right,
And
We
right.
handle some
yes.
of those, but it's not as
We
formalized.
get a lot of the calls in our
Right.
office,
Yeah.
but I guess before I even started, there was a health and welfare person
Okay.
that was part-time, and it's where our IT, there's like a little office there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was their job, and apparently people knew to come in and she would assist them. But then the town decided to outsource it to community care caregivers in Derry.
Okay.
And they represent like 6 different towns.
So that's, yeah.
And now there is an awful lot of paperwork that goes along with it. So people will go there
I
and
think
fill
it would
out an
be nice for
application. I
Londonderry
do
to
too.
have
You brought up a
someone,
great point.
and I
Maybe
think
America.
another piece of that is to educate the public, because I
Yes.
really don't think there's a large amount of the public that one knows about, for example, knows about
Right.
CARD.
Yeah.
And it might be an opportunity, I know we have the senior
Ilona
expo,
does,
but
yeah, right.
I think an opportunity to maybe speak at a town meeting related to, listen, you know, this was brought up and not a lot of people know about it. Here's a service that's offered,
You're not
you know,
kidding.
but again, that person in charge of that department would be able to advocate
Yeah.
for services like that and do the grants and do everything else
Right,
that could
exactly,
get
yeah.
the help
Yeah.
in the town.
The state has was it
Good point,
211
yeah.
telephone number, which in fact works very well, but it's still not as effective of being able to go to
And have a
town hall,
person,
whatever.
Yeah.
and see a-
Like, you
see a
need someone that's
person,
gonna
because they
advocate
can make
for
a-
you.
Right,
Even
exactly.
if you
People
if
can
you
make an
started
assessment.
small, Sherry,
Yeah.
like I know you have staff, right? Could you have somebody add something on to their already duties where, hey, we're gonna give you a slight promotion and you're gonna be in charge of senior affairs. So all that means is when we get a call and someone has a question about a senior and services, they have a book
They
and they
direct
could
them
just
to it.
direct them as
Yep.
to who to call. It's not much on your employees
Right.
to do, but it's going to make the community feel like, oh, there's somebody for seniors,
speak
or
to 'em, yeah.
there's somebody for the veterans. It could be the same person,
Yeah.
and they just have a book.
There's just
Okay, I'm
so
going to
much
put that
out
hat
there.
on.
It's so
Right.
overwhelming as to where to
Yeah.
start, and at
Yeah.
least they would have a voice to
Yeah,
speak
I
to,
think
not a
that's
recording.
great idea.
Well, in
Um,
our office, Carol Murphy, one of my assistant clerks, is a heart of gold.
Yeah.
And, you know, in talking about these different things, but so she started an area where it has the 211, you know, the cards and all of the different resources that are out there, because we are kind of the heart of the community, like the library, you know, we get the going back and forth.
Yeah, we have some
But,
of those materials over at the
yes, you know,
library too.
because
But I really feel like not a lot of people really know even where to start.
You know,
That's
we
the
have one
struggle.
person, like when
Or
they
they're
come in.
embarrassed
And
to
you don't know
ask
until you
and-
know. You
Right,
don't really.
right.
It's not until it's in your face. Oh my God, I need to know this
I think
now.
the
right?
position would really be beneficial to the town.
I think it's sad
Maybe
that we
I-
lost it.
Maybe
Yeah.
the next time the three of you do your TV show, you, Debbie, and Carol,
Yes.
you could bring that up, that could be your topic of discussion.
And it might
Oh,
even
just
be.
all the resources that are.
Oh, that's a good
available.
idea.
Doing on the it was great, I watched it.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah,
And
I
that was just our comeback, you know, it
Yes.
was- we just kind of thought we'd go with it. and
Well, you know
so-
how I know Carol, and it, you know, she was so quiet and sweet.
But it might be a good
Heart of
idea
an
to
angel,
Oh,
right?
yes.
You
when we
know?
get a new town manager, maybe it's something to bring
To
up to
bring
the new
up.
town manager
Yeah.
as like a possibility
That
to.
is,
Even, like you said, even part-time
Like it wouldn't.
would be a
and,
good
and if they
start.
couldn't afford to
Represent
hire
our
somebody
group.
else,
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
somebody who works the desk or somebody in the
Because we're
building.
happy to do that at the
Yes.
library. I'm happy to, give someone a resource. I also don't know where to start.
Mhm.
There's so
And we
much
do
out
have a
there.
lot. We do have a
there-
lot
and there's a
of
lot of great stuff
information.
that people just don't know about.
You're right, they don't
Yeah.
know about.
Which
You
I
know what
think
we
is-
should consider about this?
Let me
Yes, we
butt in
don't.
for a second, okay?
We,
A couple of things.
that position is a perfect opportunity.
He doesn't hear you.
For Londonderry and Derry to get together and collectively put somebody in a position like that.
Well, see,
Maybe
I-
they
working
can do a shared
together.
position. Maybe there's a shared position.
Well, John, Derry used to have a full-time position that was so loved and appreciated. She had her own, and people cherished what she would do. And sadly, that's probably 7 years ago now. They removed that position and they also outsourced it, which I think was such a loss for the community.
Because I don't know, I
There.
just feel like you need someone
But-
that's specific
Yeah,
to.
but the cycle tends to be, as we get older, we see that things change and then they come back, so the timing could be right for it.
Maybe, yeah.
Right,
Wait,
yeah.
let me,
Go ahead, Jim.
Another thing,
Oh, wait, he's got,
She's tried twice.
Jim's tried twice. Shut up. Try being polite. He's being polite.
excuse me.
first of all, Alona's title is senior advisor.
Mm.
So we have somebody with a position title like that.
And she does do a
And-
great
and she
job.
does
She does
do
a great job, and she has
a
all
lot
the
of that.
resources there.
Now, I think she's only got, is it 32 hours or something like
Yes,
that?
part-time, yeah.
So,
Never enough.
you know, that and the senior center, and with Bonnie Rickfo and the Londonderry Senior
No, that's
Citizens
changed.
Incorporated disbanding
Yeah.
has put membership and all the rest of that
Oh,
on.
That's funny.
That said,
Yeah.
if you remember, Alona and I are working on a booklet, I don't know what to call it, let me just call it right now,
Senior
a senior resource guide.
Right.
I'm up to, I think it's about 130 contacts
Yeah.
listed by housing, education.
That's
uh,
fantastic.
And the thought was, we will take that and put that into a booklet and put it online. Online, it'll be searchable.
Oh, that's great.
In the booklet, you'll have to do the old-fashioned search. But, so that was, and that's, I hope to have that, if I was feeling a little better, we would have had it for today's meeting, and I'm just about there, but, that last 10%.
Yeah.
So that's the current situation. Then if you'll notice on the thing for new business, I was suggesting that we talk about a transportation symposium. That's an idea that was coming out of another thing that was coming out of the expo is to pick category areas, maybe every 2 or 3 months, to have a symposium at the senior center of the vendors that are doing that type of thing. So they come in and exchange ideas, and we can learn what's going on. And I think that would be a good first one to do. Finally, because I want to have the booklets to give out at both the Old Home Day and the Expo. But I think we could, I think I also said what our goals are for 2025. I think an excellent one would be to just do, maybe just a little bit broader, an education about senior needs. Whether it's healthcare, transportation, housing,
That's a good idea.
that we would maybe even do a survey at the Old Home Day or something like that we could publish. But if we could come up with some ideas to hone in on the key areas and because I do sense with the 55 plus communities in town, there's a little antagonism. Just because I've got such a beautiful house and a wonderful wife, and a beautiful community. But, there's a sense that there's enough going on for seniors, and there's not. The need is way beyond the capacity we've got right now. At the last meeting, we had the master plan lady, and we came up with a number of 20% of the seniors for our town. It's about 4,000 people. That would be 800 people who are living alone.
Yes.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Actually, I looked
I
in.
think you brought that up at a town meeting, didn't you?
Or
Or
he sent an email and posted
Okay.
something.
Yes,
I remember that being.
I did a survey of our community.
Yeah.
Survey, I know everybody in the community.
Yeah.
Imagine.
And it was how much? What percentage?
I think it was close to 50%. I
Yeah,
think
it's
it was,
well above the 20%.
it was
Wow.
10 or 11 out
Yeah.
of 23
Yeah.
houses. Now, one of them was a man, but he still counts.
There you go.
Yeah.
But, so,
And those are
all
the people
of this is
that
by way of saying that
we've been.
it might not be the worst thing that they tabled it this year, if we can come up with something and demonstrate the need, so that we have the right atmosphere when we're going in for that.
Interesting idea.
Yeah.
you know?
I really think so, John. I feel good about it for next year, but I think in September we start the process.
Yeah, it's sort of like you
know.
planted the seed.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
absolutely.
point.
And they weren't against it. I think they were just, I don't know if overwhelmed is the right word, but I think they were surprised by it too. And then it's like, wow, this is a great idea. It'll bring money into the community, but we don't want to take it, car registrations are very high in New Hampshire as it is to register a car because we don't have other taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But, so they were struggling with that part of it, but they loved John's idea.
Did you get an idea of which warrant they were more in favor of?
When they came back to us, Lois, they were so similar.
It
When you
was,
said-
like,
yeah.
it's hard
I
to
almost
It
feel like
was-
to take this opportunity, like as frustrating as it is that it was tabled, I think you could definitely take this opportunity to look over the year and find ways to educate the council and the community on those needs, so that when you do approach it again,
Yes, yeah.
you're like, people are like, oh, wait a minute, I remember them talking about this and struggling for that. This would help that, like to
I think so. I
to
think
kind of
just-
get people aware of
Yeah.
really, I mean, use it as an opportunity to educate.
Well, I think
and
his
to teach.
transportation expo will help with that.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you
Yeah,
say that,
not solely, but,
because
oh, the symposium.
Symposium, I'm
Yes.
sorry, yeah.
no
The-
one ever asked that question.
No, yeah.
What
Right.
question?
What were you gonna specifically do the money for?
Oh,
And,
wow.
and I thought at the beginning, well, it's so obvious, this is the number one,
May not be so obvious.
Yeah.
But they never asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, they never,
It
it was,
was-
right off the bat, was a great idea.
Yeah, they were very
And-
supportive,
and-
but then it, yeah.
but to Jim's point about the booklet and everything, what about at the library creating like a senior corner thing where you can bring out, how you set a table up. with
Happy to do that. Yeah, we can
Right.
figure something out.
There's a
That's
whole
a
bunch
wonderful
of
idea.
AARP stuff.
And I
not
am
shortage of
happy
literature.
to, I did a display, I think it was in November, a veterans display. We had a month, I had a table. And I contacted New Hampshire Veterans Affairs over at the state up at Concord and a number of other organizations to get pamphlets on materials that could help the veterans. I'm happy to reach out to organizations and get pamphlets that
Yeah,
could
we'll
help
talk to
seniors.
Carol, 'cause we've
Yeah,
got a whole-
and put
yeah.
it together. And I'm happy to have those materials at the library. I think that's a great idea.
Do
And
something like the senior corner.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that idea.
We have an area where we put pamphlets that are just like right now I have a lot of veteran stuff left over from the display, but we have other pamphlets there, like when we get the education, the what do you call it? And they do
Oh,
the
not the community education.
It's
like-
services.
it's like
Adult
the
ed? No.
adult ed, yeah,
Because
kind of
that's
stuff.
in
Yeah.
Derry, yeah.
We get some stuff like that too, and I
Yeah.
always put it out. But I'm happy to. We
I
can
think
figure out
that's
a
a
way to
great-
I
dedicate
think
a
it's a great
space.
idea.
I think that's a great
That's
idea.
I think it'd be great
Wonderful.
even just for adults with aging parents.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
and you know that, okay, what are we gonna do with
Yeah.
mom or dad and
What
when
were
they
you
get
calling
older?
it? Senior corner, or what was you?
I said
I
senior
see
corner,
that.
he
That's
said
good.
dedicated
But that's
area. No, it'd be a
I
kid's
love
corner,
that.
it's the
Yeah,
senior
The
corner.
senior
It's-
corner.
Seniors
I think that's a
corner.
great idea.
And
Well,
Liz Jones is the woman that is in Derry that represents our surrounding town.
Mm-hmm.
She's a sweet, I'm sure she would even bring over things and.
Put a cup of
'cause
tea and
there's-
some
yeah,
cookies on the billboard.
Well, actually,
No.
we had an idea. Well, it has. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but eventually, possibly downstairs outside the meeting room, we were thinking about setting up like a very small kind of cafe
I
where it would
love
be like a
that
little coffee
idea.
maker. They wouldn't be food. It would just be like a little coffee maker, and then some comfy chairs where people could sit and read,
Isn't that
and
a lovely
also
idea?
be able to put things on display or something like that. But it's one of those like future thoughts.
I
How
love
often
that,
is the
though.
conference room, how often does your conference room
The big one
get used during the
downstairs?
day?
It's pretty. We use it for a lot for library programs. But we also, like our trustees meetings are in there. We have other people who reserve the space. If you reserve the space in the meeting room, it has to be open to the public. So if you have a meeting
Oh, interesting.
where it's a specific organization in town, I don't know,
A board meeting for a condo association.
whatever it is, yeah, condo association,
Yeah.
it has to be open to the public. So if you're comfortable sharing what you're discussing, then that's an appropriate
No, I
space
was
for that.
thinking about having to go up and down those steps is not.
There's an elevator.
Oh, is
Oh,
there an
there is, I
elevator?
There
forgot
is an
about that.
elevator.
Where is it?
It's right when you walk in the door. It's going to be right on your right side there. Yeah, we have an elevator.
How many times have I walked
I'll show you next time you're
How
in.
many times have you been downstairs?
Yeah, you've gone to some of our
times
programs.
I've walked down.
I'm gonna show-
When you walk down the elevator, you face it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right, that's true.
Yeah, it's right there, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let me see what I can come up with a space, at the library, and I'll get in touch with
And
Liz
we can
Jones. And
publicize
who
it.
at your office?
Me probably,
Okay.
and then, and Carol is incredible, so.
Okay,
yeah.
There's-
and we'll just
But
find a
we'll
way to
put
get
Carol
some
in charge
pamphlets
of
and some
it,
materials
Cause she
there.
has a
I'm sure
regular
Alona has
desk.
a lot of material.
Oh, my
That's
goodness, yeah,
what
she's
you
probably
said
gonna-
too. You could, but please take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, put Carol Murphy down first and then, you know, I'm
There's
waiting.
a-
Okay.
Because,
Well, I'll do.
but she would be honored.
I think another one, the prime
I
people for the thing.
have a motto for the work we want to do. If you don't provide the resources to help them stay in their own home, they're gonna have to live with you.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
We want to get as broad a segment of the population.
There's an
So
organization, I
good.
think it's AHA, and I think it's Alliance for Healthy Aging. And they have a really good presentation and slides and so on. It's for reframing aging. You may have even heard about this, I don't know.
I have not,
But
but-
we ought to consider trying to get them to come. They will come if invited and put this presentation on. It's really quite good.
Yeah, I can reach out to them and see
Yeah.
if they would do a because we've done a couple of AARP programs,
Yeah.
which has been great. So I'll definitely pass it along
Yeah.
to my
Yeah.
librarian that does the programming. I think that would be awesome.
Now that you just said that, so I'm still on a Facebook page I used to be on the board of directors, East Boston Social Centers, and they have a senior thing there as well, and they had posted this, a joyful moment as our active adults receive their thoughtful winter care packages from our amazing partners at Life Science Cares. I don't know if it's just a Massachusetts thing or not, but I thought I might bring that up at one of the meetings, and I just thought of it. I
Maybe you could Google it.
did a
find out what it
screenshot a
is.
long time
Yeah.
ago. Their excellent gratitude filled the room, making their heartwarming moments even more. Life Science Cares for making our seniors. I don't know what they did. I think they gave them like care packages, like kind of what we were talking about, like what we did at the expo or whatnot. But all right, I'll write it down on this.
Life Science Cares
It's
provides a
called-
platform for companies and their employees to make a difference. We make impactful grants and to community nonprofits. So it looks like they have Boston, New York, San Diego, Philadelphia, Bay Area.
Yeah. No, New
But
Just large cities.
yeah, it may be.
That was quick. Wow, you're good. I'm like, oh,
I
I'll
am a
look at it later.
Yeah, I don't see any. I would say Boston is the closest
No.
person, but they still might be able to help in assisting sending if they have
Something.
something. Yeah, there's an email. I can certainly reach out to them if just to inquire. What's the worst they
another
could do is
resource,
say,
yeah.
"Sorry, can't help
Right.
you." I have no problem asking people for things.
Well, you know, another thing we've talked about a lot, but we haven't had them come speak, is the Hunt community in Nashua. And they also have a program for aging at home. They
Oh,
want,
that's right, yeah,
they
they
would be
do.
wonderful to have them come and speak.
What's the name of that one?
It's the Hunt community in Nashua, and I think it's called Aging in Place.
They
And
have a
it-
hunt at home, isn't it called hunt?
Hunted,
at
Hunted Home or whatever. The Hunt, that's in Nashua. And I think, I like your idea of Alliance for Healthy Aging, but also I think
Yeah,
the Hunt community too.
I'm sure
They're
they
the
would.
only senior center like the Baldwins or whatever that has that aging at home as well that I know of. And I think they would be wonderful to have come speak sometime.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
that is the only one that I know of.
The only one you know of too, yeah,
Yeah,
in New Hampshire, yeah.
Let's see.
Okay,
Well, older
Did
Americans.
our secretary get all that down?
I
So
you know, I
May-
wrote my own notes, and I'm like, oh shoot, was I
So
supposed
May
to
is
do
Older Americans
I don't know
Month.
how to be a
Maybe we can do a
secretary. Is
series
Deb
of
secretary?
programs at the library connecting with these. I'll have to see because we've already booked our spring programs, so it might be something we might have to wait a year to do if we want to do it in May. But I can certainly reach out to these organizations and see if they're willing to do something like that. And then, you guys can, put your name on it. I don't care. I mean, I'm sure they would do these things for free. I can't
Well,
imagine.
even if they
there's a
knew
cost.
something
Oh, I'm
about
sure they would.
transportation, Jim had said the transportation symposium where they come and they talk
Right, or they can
about,
come and talk about that,
maybe
yeah.
they could just talk about that particular thing.
that's a great
That
idea.
would be interesting.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I'm happy to reach out. I know Leona probably wouldn't mind either, but she's not here, so I'll take it on. I'm happy to reach out to them and just get some information about their organizations and
See
how
what
they
they
can help
offer.
us, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if
Great,
Leona wants to take
great.
it over, she can.
Very nice, right?
Yeah.
Or do we give it to her because she's not here, right? Isn't that the rule? I don't mind.
I would like to thank Sherry and John for what they did and going to all those
Indeed.
meetings. And I followed it in the paper. It's amazing what I'm reading in the paper these days, all the details and whatever. A lot of what you described, I read in the paper.
Oh,
Just,
very
just like
nice.
with what's happening at the library, I read it in the paper. It's,
I mean-
it's amazing what's getting in
You
there.
can get all the town, just about all the town meetings is on YouTube if you can get it on
Yes.
TV.
Yeah, I haven't watched that.
Just go to the very end for us. And
Yeah.
say, "Hey, you'll see her in there
Oh,
supporting
goodness.
us. And,
And in addition to that, I would like to thank Jim. He's an incredible leader.
Yes,
He's
well,
come up
yeah.
with all of these. I mean,
Truly.
you came up with the expo.
Yeah.
Now you've come up with the transportation symposium. Your brain just keeps going,
Yes,
Jim.
oh,
It does.
right?
All these
Really
great
good idea.
ideas.
Exciting.
And
you
you're
know?
very, you always speak in support of the library, so I thank you. for
Yes.
that as well.
Well, you guys
You have a little place in my heart.
Yeah.
And I checked the office you're running for, and there's no one running against you last time I checked.
for the first time, I think I got a chance to win.
Good stuff, good stuff.
But I wanted, just to add to what John and Sherry did. Do you realize that's 3.5 hours later than bedtime?
Oh,
Yeah, they even put that in the paper at the time. I mean, everything's
isn't
making the
that-
paper these
boy,
days.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, John did a phenomenal job on the, I was just your wing woman. I was the wing woman.
You helped
John
a lot.
was
I
the,
think-
no.
I think there's a couple of places where we were talking about various things, and I think on some of them that I, like backing down on the amount and so on. I thought maybe, in retrospect, I think back whether or not that would have made a difference or not. It would have been,
Just one question.
get
At the
it next
last
time.
meeting, you were suggesting, if I remember correctly, something like a sunset.
oh, yeah, that was because of that bit, they came up with, somebody, who was that? I think it was Ron Dunn, brought up this business, didn't like it because it was a law that never went away. So my remedy to that, and I sent a letter for the council trying to rebut all this, but basically I said, if you could, you could put a sunset law in it, and say, that this RSA will expire, 5 years from whatever, or something like that, trying to get around, which I thought was a ridiculous, it was he took this principle that's, in the air these days about, the laws, and he's, was right. In fact, there's a book that I mentioned, the book was written by
Yes.
Neil Gorsuch, talked about that. But he takes this principle, of don't write any laws unless they can, be easily get away. But don't apply it to a warrant article for the senior transportation. I mean, that's what sent this whole thing off into the never.
It takes a lot of courage to get up there and speak, even as like a
does,
public
I
person, a
agree,
community
yes.
person.
Truly,
It's a
yeah.
very intimidating space, and I think it takes a lot of courage to go. No matter what it is you're going up there to speak, if it's for or against whatever it is. I think there is some credit to people that can go up there and speak to that and stand firm in their ground, because it's an intimidating situation, and
But just
so
the-
kudos to you guys.
Oh, that's Aaron, every time you two,
the genesis of the
It's tough.
expo was Kim Bernard. He suggested at one of our meetings.
Oh, he's not gonna take credit.
It wasn't,
Thank you, Jim and
The idea may have been born, but you ran with it. It could have just sat on.
I think
the
it's a
table.
great
Yeah,
idea, but
it
it's
could've
again
just sat
another one of
there.
those ideas that I think if we had someone in town that was dedicated to
I
supporting our
agree
seniors, that could even
100%.
be a bigger event.
Yeah.
Because we would have their assistance and their connections that they would be making. So it could be, I think it could be even bigger if we had like the right person. Not to say that you guys haven't done a great job, but I feel
But just
like
some of the
there's so much
designated
more,
staff
right, that can be done and can be
uninterrupted,
offered
yeah.
to our seniors that
Yeah.
we just don't have the time for us to commit to it, and the time and the resources to know, okay, who do I call about this and who do I call, and that person would be trained in that. I think would be great.
Yeah, incredible.
So,
Yeah,
I don't mind bringing it up at a department head meeting.
Absolutely.
Just to throw it out there, you never know.
With whoever the new person
Right,
is,
right. Doesn't
Before
hurt.
we stop, we should talk about the thing.
Oh,
for
Bonnie, we wanna talk about Bonnie, absolutely.
Okay.
Was anything done with
She's not, she's not a resident, but
Oh, I have been,
I think she's in Florida.
well, had talked to and, well, I asked for an update today, but I didn't get it. I suggested two things. The first thing was a one-time exemption or something like that for somebody who is in effect a lifelong resident, but who could no longer live here because they couldn't afford to live here, for the Citizen of the Year award. Failing that, some type of proclamation, etc., which,
That's a great idea.
you know,
maybe we ought to name the senior center.
well, you know, we've got a lot of people
That's-
that volunteer and do a lot of stuff in town. And we have one award?
Yeah.
You know-
Hey,
We definitely somehow need to figure out how to recognize Bonnie.
Yeah,
That woman has been incredible.
Oh,
I-
she
yes.
has. I mean, she was on our committee for years,
Yeah.
and I mean, definitely at the council meetings, I'm sure the councilors would welcome doing something very special. We could ask the governor to do a proclamation, but
Oh,
what
yeah.
would, it's too bad, I don't know if she's gonna be here for deliberative, because that's a wonderful time to
Oh,
acknowledge
that's
people.
true.
It's a
That's
little,
so true.
little.
Did she move?
I know, I think, and I could be wrong, but I believe she's in Florida with her family right now.
Visiting or permanently?
Ilona would know, just for a month, you know,
Oh,
like I
okay.
think,
Okay.
and actually, I know the answer, she is there right now, yeah.
So we do it a month from now.
When she comes back,
Yeah.
right, yeah, and maybe we all go to the council meeting and, you know, that would be really, I think that would mean a
Well,
lot
I
to
do,
her.
I
think
really,
so.
Jim and I have talked about
I
this
don't know who
before,
she
and I
was.
really
Oh,
think
yeah,
she
you
should be
would-
citizen of the
that's
year.
right.
I really do. I don't care whether she's a resident or not.
I
She used to
agree,
be here.
Yeah.
Mm, true.
Is there a nominating process or
Maybe a
something
lifetime
for that?
achievement award or something?
Yeah, that's what basically what citizen of the year is,
People make
yeah.
nominations, John, to the council, but I've never really been sure how that works.
Yeah, how do they pick the
Yeah,
citizen of the
Because
year?
there's so many, like, you know, now that we've been around for so long too, you just know there's so many people that, but people, my understanding is like bring names forward to the council
Yeah.
and then, you know, all of a sudden it appears, but I don't know if it's more formal than that, because that would all be, you know, something we wouldn't know
It would,
about.
I mean, maybe do they need like, would it help to write letters of support or nomination in a sense for her, in her name, for her
The
name?
only problem is now whatever it is for this year, deliberative is Saturday.
Oh, that's
So,
interesting.
I mean, I
It's
think
too
because
late.
they buy plaques, you know,
Oh,
this is
right.
usually something a
It's
month
too
or
late.
two ahead.
Was she really involved with the senior committee? Could you do
Years
something at
ago.
your expo for her?
That's a
Oh,
cute
that's
idea.
true.
Right in the
too.
middle of the
Yeah.
auditorium
I mean, we
and
could
have her up
get our
there
own
and-
award and
That's a
I-
sweet
present
I
it
don't
to her
know.
at the expo from the
Yeah.
Senior Resource Committee.
Yeah, because she'll be back, I'm sure, by March even, but,
And I think you have to include the senior center in it. We can't do it
Yeah,
without
yeah,
including them.
yeah.
Because that's where she did all her
yeah.
work.
Yeah.
I will
We
put
should do
the,
something.
because it's something I've been thinking about, is
Excuse me.
recognition
Mm.
is an important part of leadership.
Yeah.
And one award for volunteers is
Citizen and
many,
volunteer.
many too small.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so I have to tell a
Hey,
brief
Ron.
story because I want to,
Representative Dunn, good to see you. I know you were up at the state today too. I saw Christine, but I didn't see you.
we had
That's
a
great
CEO at
idea.
the R&D Center. Well, one of the gals in an illustrator we had for technical publications had a sign on her desk that said, "Will Rogers never met Matt Keeler." So we had an award ceremony. One of the guys was getting a big DOT award. It started out, well, let's get all these little awards out of the way.
Aw.
And this one isn't as big as that one. Some of these guys had their wives there,
Aw.
Yeah.
and finally you got to the one, and everybody was so down.
Oh, they were so tired. Aw.
So,
time.
yes, it doesn't have to be the big award, but some kind of recognition that I think would really go a long way to filling some of the vacancies we're looking for
Yeah.
That's true.
in volunteers. Artie, if you don't mind, I'm gonna try and close up early.
No, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Not early.
Not very
It's 6:54, it's not early.
Okay. All right. A motion to adjourn,
Second?
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.